Hey, Flo here. Decided to get out for a Bible reading today. It's really hot, so I'm not really planning to do any major hiking, but I actually need to get some things at a store, so I had to drive out anyway, so I decided I would take the opportunity to do at least one reading while I'm out. Okay, everything seems to be working. Hopefully my phone doesn't overheat today. It's quite hot, quite toasty. I think it's going to be even hotter tomorrow. I might actually go try to find a place to read tomorrow, but I'll have to take it pretty easy, otherwise I'll get overheated. Well, on some gravel that I still haven't quite figured out how to make it stable yet. Whew. So yeah, that concrete project I was working on, I still have some stuff I need to do with that, so I need to get some supplies for that project, which I should have done yesterday, but I don't know. Yesterday I was in some kind of physical chemical slump. I just was like, had so little energy to do anything. I felt like a zombie. I don't know why. Anyway, I feel a little better today, so should be all right. But unfortunately, because of that, my schedule got all messed up, and so probably won't even be able to work on the project today because it'll take too long to get the stuff. It's quite an ordeal for me to go to a store just because it's not close. Got some people shooting guns here. I'm sure that you'll be able to hear that on stream, but I'll just have to overlook it. I knew that would be the case. Well, I pretty much figured it would be the case today in particular, but definitely it's an eventuality that I knew I would have to deal with, because a lot of the places that I shouldn't say a lot, but some of the places that I go to, they're very well known for people bringing guns and stuff, and this is one of those spots. This is probably the most popular spot, like, in the whole state practically. It's just, if there's going to be people target practicing, it'll be here. So that's all right. So a little bit noisy. The main thing today, it sounds like I think somebody has like a 50 cal out there or something. It's a big gun, whatever it is. I got just a glance at them as I was driving up the hill, and they were set up with some kind of big deal. I don't know. All right, need to get started before I get overheated just sitting here. So I made the decision. I've had to do this before, but I'm not going to stream on Odyssey when I'm doing these IRL streams, because there's not really any point to do it. I don't know what the deal is. Something about the encoder when it comes from a mobile source, Odyssey doesn't like it, and it just cuts into little chunks. If it does anything at all, sometimes it doesn't even connect. And so I have all these empty live streams on my channel that I have to go back later and upload the replay, and so it's kind of just annoying, and I don't want people to be waiting for my live stream to start when it's never going to start, and I have no control over whether it works or not. So I'll still upload the replays later, but there's no reason to set up a live stream when I know it's not going to work anyway. So, but everywhere else that I normally am, I'm still streaming today. I was looking through my list of platforms, and some of them are just, I don't know, like Picardo is completely pointless. As an example, nobody watches there, and it's not even a website that makes any sense for the stuff that I typically do. There's nobody ever dropping by there. There's a few other, I have quite a few obscure ones like Moonbeam and Soup Live and Nemo TV. It doesn't really hurt anything to add them as destinations for my stream, but there's nothing ever happening on those. Literally never. Not once in 5 years would somebody ever drop by. And probably not even lurking either. They're just kind of too obscure of platforms, I guess. But for now, I guess I'll leave them just because it doesn't really add any extra work for me to stream to them right now. So, but if they were to make it more annoying, like for example, YouNow, which is one that I'd actually like to stream on, but I can't because they don't have RTMP support. And because of that, I'm not going to go out of my way to try to make it work. It's probably technically possible, but it would be very, very difficult to do. Very bothersome. So anyway, that's the update on the platforms. I was looking through them early this afternoon and thinking I don't know if it's worth bothering on some of these, and obviously I could just simplify it to the major platforms. But I think there's a few smaller ones that are worthwhile, like definitely Beam and Soulbound are worth it for now, but and even you could argue that DLive is kind of a random small platform these days, but I've got a history there, so I'll probably always stream there until they just have a 404 someday or something equivalent. But anyway, Trovo's also kind of pointless. I did mention recently, though, that Trovo is one of the platforms that's pretty good for downloading your replays. It seems to be a little bit more reliable in their connection. I kind of take that back in one way, though. They limit their audio bitrate to 160 kilobits, which is pretty standard out there. A lot of platforms do that, but for my purposes, I want to have really good quality audio, since these Bible readings especially are mostly about the audio. The visual's important too, but so I wanted to record at 320 or 256 or 320, whatever. And so my solution for that is that I think I mentioned this before, but you can actually record locally with IRL Pro, which is the app I use to live stream on my Android phone. And I would think that would use a lot of battery, saving a huge MP4 file, encoding it while live streaming. But to be perfectly honest, I haven't noticed any significant performance dip. So I've been doing that for a few weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know. And so I get a pretty high quality recording locally on my phone. And usually it actually, like even when my stream cuts out for whatever reason, like the cell network just kind of takes a nosedive for whatever reason, I think it still records the local thing without those interruptions. So it's actually pretty good solution. But anyway, yeah, I got the real serious gun action going on today. That little white butterfly has probably flown in the camera a couple times. I saw it over there. There's quite a few, well, there's a few butterflies and there's tons of other pollinators like bees and various things. Got the battle hymn of the Republic going on today. Just think of it like 4th of July. Maybe the reading will somehow connect with all the gun noises. It's funny because I've actually had a fair number of the readings line up with things that I'm doing or places that I've been. One of them just, I don't know what the word is. The only closest word I can think of is haunts me. But like, I don't know, it's so weird. Like one of the readings that I did when I was I was reading like when Jesus gets baptized and the Spirit appeared on him in the form of a dove or descended on him, whatever. Literally at that exact split in the verses, a bird flew in, and that was the stream that I thought that I heard like an animal behind me. I was intently looking at my phone, so I couldn't really see what was going on, but I heard a big noise. And when I watched the replay, it was a bird that flew in right, literally at the exact moment that we were reading those verses. Not even 1 second late, not 1 second early. Bam! Right there, exactly when that verse was uttered, a bird flew in, landed on that branch where I was sitting, and this sounds crazy. I actually was trying to figure it out. The footage is not very clear, but there's a slight, just an ever so slight chance that it was a mourning dove, which would be just like, if I found it was a mourning dove, I would say that is not at all coincidental. There's no chance, 0 chance. But even if it's not, it was still just a blessing. Like even if I don't personally believe in coincidences, so I think God allowed that to happen just to bless me in that moment. Whether it's I don't think it's any significant spiritual meaning necessarily. It's just when those kind of things happen, though, it's just like, thank you, Lord. I feel like, maybe I'm doing this for a reason. Like I don't really get a lot of feedback from people watching the stream because I think people are scared when they see anything religious or Bible or church or Christian or anything like that. But yeah, I just feel like this is something that I'm supposed to be doing, and to get little blessings like that, it just kind of affirms or just encourages me, which I need a lot of encouragement these days. So even the little things I notice. So anyway, so let's see what kind of gun battles we got in Exodus chapter 38. I'm just kidding, but let's get on with the reading. Exodus chapter 38. Bezalel constructed the altar of burnt offering from acacia wood, It was square, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. He made a horn at each of its 4 corners, so that the horns and altar were of one piece, and he overlaid the altar with bronze. He made all the altar's utensils of bronze, its pots, shovels, sprinkling bowls, meat forks, and fire pans. He made a grate of bronze mesh for the altar under its ledge, halfway up from the bottom. At the 4 corners of the bronze grate he cast 4 rings as holders for the poles, and he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. Then he inserted the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar for carrying it. He made the altar with boards so that it was hollow. Next he made the bronze basin and its stand from the mirrors of the women who served at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Then he constructed the courtyard. The south side of the courtyard was 100 cubits long and had curtains of finely spun linen, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The north side was also 100 cubits long, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases. The hooks and bands of the posts were silver. The west side was 50 cubits long and had curtains, with 10 posts and 10 bases. The hooks and bands of the posts were silver. And the east side, toward the sunrise, was also 50 cubits long. The curtains on one side of the entrance were 15 cubits long, with 3 posts and 3 bases. And the curtains on the other side were also 15 cubits long, with 3 posts and 3 bases as well. All the curtains around the courtyard were made of finely spun linen. The bases for the posts were bronze, the hooks and bands were silver, and the plating for the tops of the posts was silver. So all the posts of the courtyard were banded with silver. The curtain for the entrance to the courtyard was embroidered with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely spun linen. It was 20 cubits long, and like the curtains of the courtyard, 5 cubits high, with 4 posts and 4 bronze bases. Their hooks were silver, as well as the bands and the plating of their tops. All the tent pegs for the tabernacle and for the surrounding courtyard were bronze. This is the inventory for the tabernacle of the testimony, as recorded at Moses' command by the Levites under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur of the tribe of Judah, made everything that the Lord had commanded Moses. With him was Aholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver, designer, and embroiderer in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. All the gold from the wave offering used for the work on the sanctuary totaled 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. The silver from those numbered among the congregation totaled 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. A beka per person, that is, half a shekel, according to the sanctuary shekel, from everyone 20 years of age or older who had crossed over to be numbered, a total of 603,550 men. The 100 talents of silver were used to cast the bases of the sanctuary and the bases of the veil, 100 bases from the 100 talents, 1 talent per base. With the 1,775 shekels of silver, he made the hooks for the posts, overlaid their tops, and supplied bands for them. The bronze from the wave offering totaled 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. He used it to make the bases for the entrance to the tent of meeting, the bronze altar and its bronze grating, and all the utensils for the altar, the bases for the surrounding courtyard and its gate, and all the tent pegs for the tabernacle and its surrounding courtyard. All right, another improvement I want to make to this app is, you know how like a lot of camera apps have that little white button trigger you can like drag around? I think I want to make something like that for this app so I can change slides or whatever more easily, because I kind of have to hold this in a weird position to have my thumb right where the trigger is. since I was so low energy and just kind of yesterday, I did work on some AI scripts. I improved some of my automation scripts for the content creation stuff. And then I was trying to make, I thought, well, I was talking about that speed test app. I was thinking, well, why not try to make it? But the AI, like I used Gemini, I asked it to make something like that, gave it a bunch of kind of ideas to go with how it would work and stuff. Actually, I didn't give it a whole lot of input. I just asked kind of, is it possible to make actually, first what I asked is there such thing as an app out there that does speed tests like in automatic intervals and posts them like on a map with GPS information and stuff? And it said, no, there's not really anything like that. It pointed me to one app that had really terrible ratings on the Play Store. So I was like, I don't think so. And then I just figured, oh, why not ask? Like, can it make something like that? So it actually did make something, and it works. Like the problem is it doesn't get what I would consider accurate results on the speed tests. But I actually might still try to refine that script and see if I can get it to be more reliable. Because if I could, then I could just have that running on an extra phone or whatever while I'm hiking, or just open it up whenever I want to do a speed test. And then I could track that information like in a more automated way, which would be pretty cool. So that's a project I was working on yesterday. The app itself, actually, currently it looks pretty cool, and it works like nicely, except that the numbers that it produces are definitely not accurate. So I just have to, one of the ideas is to get it to use some kind of publicly accessible speed test API of some sort, as long as I don't have to like pay monthly to access it or something. Then that might work. If it's more reliable metrics, then I'll try that. But otherwise, I don't really have any ideas to improve it. I already went through several iterations yesterday where, asking it, how can we... I told it what my actual speed was, which was like around, I think, 950 megabits, both down and up, because I have gigabit internet. And it's very reliable. It's extremely good. It's about as good as you can get. And I was saying, why is this telling me I have like 25 megabits up? That's obviously not correct. So anyway, it ran through several different code iterations and got it to change the speeds to some degree and seemingly be a little bit closer to accurate. But the download speed actually works. I think it might even be relatively accurate, but the upload speed is completely off, like not even close. And I tested it while I was driving out here just to see what it would do, and it just kept failing on the upload. The download was probably working fine, but the upload, it wasn't even getting enough bandwidth to complete the test. So something messed up there. Alright, so I was gonna go get my little smart button, because I keep forgetting to mark these reading spots for my map. I did a few of them on my last day out, and that was nice because I could just add them to the map with one of my scripts pretty easily. But if I forget to do it, then I have to go later into my GPS tracks and manually look for where there's a cluster of points and just assume that was probably where I was reading. And it's just not, it's a lot more work, and it's probably accurate enough, but if I do it while I'm actually here, then it'll be a lot easier, faster, and more accurate, so I just have to remember each time. Okay, which since I'm remembering right now, I may as well do it. Make sure this is still going. Thankfully there's a tiny tree right next to my phone, so it might be giving it a little bit of shade. I tried the umbrella and it's really right now it's calm, but it was really windy here. And it was just pretty much guaranteed to knock the tripod over, so I decided not to do that. It's possibly a little shaky. Oh, and by the way, I checked my settings in IRL Pro. I was talking about the OIS, EIS, the optical image stabilization, and the electronic. Those are both turned on already, so whatever they're able to do, they're already doing, which is not very impressive because I've seen some pretty shaky replays on some of these streams. But not a whole lot I can do about that. Okay, let's try to get this marker here. So Exodus 39 is next. Okay, 7 is the magic number for a WordHike. The thing that amazes me with the people that do the target practice stuff is I'm not really into guns, but I do watch a lot of YouTube stuff with that content. Like I like Kentucky Ballistics. I used to watch what's he called? The Demolition Ranch before he kind of retired. And every once in a while I'll watch like High Speed Ballistics or other, slow-mo guys sometimes do that kind of stuff. So I know what can be gleaned from that, but I'm not really like a weapons buff myself. I don't have like a ton of guns and go out all the time. But the thing that kind of amazes me with the people that do is I think it's kind of expensive. Like each bullet costs, a certain amount. And when you think of it like in terms of, compare it to something like going to an arcade where you spend 25 cents or even 50 or 75 cents these days for those arcade, you play a game, you get a life or a continue or whatever it is. But with that, it's just like boom, 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 shoot your gun and you get like one shot out of it and you're spending, depending on what kind of caliber it is, it could be a couple dollars for the bigger ones. Some of the, the smaller ones, I'm sure are like 20 cents or whatever, but still, like every time you shoot the gun, it's like you could have this little thing on your screen showing like the cost of each shell that you launch. So yeah, it's not a cheap hobby really. And then of course the guns themselves are super expensive. So not a hobby that I can pick up easily with my current financial status. Doesn't really interest me that much anyway. It's like, even if you have a gun, I don't really see the appeal of just going out and shooting it all the time. Maybe every once in a while, but not like regularly. It doesn't really seem that fun to me. Done it a few times with, actually that's kind of one of the stereotypical things that men's groups do. Like if you're part of a church and they have like a men's retreat or a camp out or something, that's one of the typical things they do. That and like some fancy like barbecue dinner kind of thing, and stuff like that. Which, I don't know, I have no problem with that, but it's just not I'm just not that kind of guy. I've just never really been into the standard guy stuff like working on cars and fishing and shooting guns and stuff. It's just, I don't mind it, but it's not, I don't go ballistics for it. Alright, so got that marked. Let's keep on going with the reading. I don't want to stay here too long anyway because I need to get into the city and buy some stuff before everything closes, so I don't want to linger too long. Exodus chapter 39. From the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn they made specially woven garments for ministry in the sanctuary, as well as holy garments for Aaron, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Bezalel made the ephod of finely spun linen embroidered with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn. They hammered out thin sheets of gold and cut threads from them to interweave with the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linen, the work of a skilled craftsman. They made shoulder pieces for the ephod, which were attached at two of its corners, so it could be fastened. And the skillfully woven waistband of the ephod was of one piece with the ephod of the same workmanship, with gold, with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and with finely spun linen, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They mounted the onyx stones in gold filigree settings, engraved like a seal with the names of the sons of Israel. Then they fastened them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made the breastpiece with the same workmanship as the ephod, with gold, with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and with finely spun linen. It was square when folded over double, a span long and a span wide. And they mounted on it 4 rows of gemstones. The first row had a ruby, a topaz, and an emerald. The second row had a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row had a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row had a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. These stones were mounted in gold filigree settings. The 12 stones corresponded to the names of the sons of Israel. Each stone was engraved like a seal with the name of one of the 12 tribes. For the breastpiece, they made braided chains like cords of pure gold. They also made 2 gold filigree settings and 2 gold rings, and fastened the 2 rings to the 2 corners of the breastpiece. Then they fastened the 2 gold chains to the 2 gold rings at the corners of the breastpiece, and they fastened the other ends of the 2 chains to the 2 filigree settings, attaching them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front. They made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the other 2 corners of the breastpiece, on the inside edge next to the ephod. They made 2 additional gold rings and attached them to the bottom of the 2 shoulder pieces of the ephod, on its front, near the seam just above its woven waistband. Then they tied the rings of the breastpiece to the rings of the ephod with a cord of blue yarn, so that the breastpiece was above the waistband of the ephod and would not swing out from the ephod, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made the robe of the ephod entirely of blue cloth, the work of a weaver, with an opening in the center of the robe like that of a garment, with a collar around the opening so that it would not tear. They made pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely spun linen on the lower hem of the robe. They also made bells of pure gold and attached them around the hem between the pomegranates, alternating the bells and pomegranates around the lower hem of the robe to be worn for ministry, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. For Aaron and his sons, they made tunics of fine linen, the works of a weaver. as well as the turban of fine linen, the ornate headbands and undergarments of finely spun linen, and the sash of finely spun linen, embroidered with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They also made the plate of the holy crown of pure gold, and they engraved on it, like an inscription on a seal, holy to the Lord. Then they fastened to it a blue cord to mount it on the turban, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So all the work for the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, was completed. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent with all its furnishings, its clasps, its frames, its crossbars, and its posts and bases. The covering of ram skins dyed red, the covering of fine leather, and the veil of the covering. The ark of the testimony with all its poles and the mercy seat, the table with all its utensils, and the bread of the presence. The pure gold lampstand with its row of lamps and all its utensils, as well as the oil for the light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, the fragrant incense, and the curtain for the entrance to the tent, the bronze altar with its bronze grating, its poles and all its utensils, the basin with its stand, the curtains of the courtyard with its posts and bases, the curtain for the gate of the courtyard, its ropes and tent pegs, and all the equipment for the service of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and the woven garments for ministering in the sanctuary, both the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments for his sons to serve as priests. The Israelites had done all the work just as the Lord had commanded Moses. And Moses inspected all the work and saw that they had accomplished it just as the Lord had commanded. So Moses blessed them. Can't remember if Exodus has 40 or 50 chapters. I want to say it just has 40, which would mean this is the last chapter, but that doesn't seem right. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up, but anyway, I was sort of expecting to hear about the, whatever you call it, the blessing of the priests and all the sacrifices and stuff, but if there's only one more chapter left, it doesn't seem likely. So maybe there's more than 40 chapters in Exodus. I don't remember. Or maybe it talks about that in Leviticus. That would probably be what it's all about. I remember it, like, once they start doing all the sacrifices, it describes so many things that they do. And that's the part that a lot of people have a hard time reading. It seems kind of repetitive a little bit, and if you don't understand the significance of the sacrificial system, then it's kind of hard to read and, stuff, so. But we did it last year, and we'll do it again this year. I'm hoping, I don't, for some, whatever reason, unforeseen circumstances or whatever, get cut off in the middle like I did last year. Because I was halfway considering picking up where I left off, because I think I was about 60% through last year or something like that. I was fairly far into it, and I could have just started, in the prophets and wherever I was. But I decided to start all the way over, especially because I wanted to do this outdoor Bible thing, a WordHike thing. So that's kind of the main reason that I decided to do it all over. But anyway, I guess a couple of the readings I might have done. I think I did a few readings outdoors last year too, and so I could technically use those for this year, but I'll just read everything again, I think. Might as well, especially since I have the setup kind of dialed in with the words on screen and stuff. sun behind that cloud is kind of nice for a change. Whoa. Got those beetles here again. They're kind of annoying. They just like to land on stuff. I don't even know if they're really pollinators. They seem to like the plants, but they also like to land on me. So I have to watch for them and bat them away. Otherwise it's pretty alarming because they're pretty huge. Thankfully the bees and stuff they don't seem to really be bothered. Exodus chapter 40. Then the Lord said to Moses, "On the first day of the first month you are to set up the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. Put the ark of the testimony in it, and screen off the ark with the veil. Then bring in the table and set out its arrangement. Bring in the lampstand as well, and set up its lamps. Place the gold altar of incense in front of the ark of the testimony, and hang the curtain at the entrance to the tabernacle. Place the altar of burnt offering in front of the entrance to the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. And place the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. Set up the surrounding courtyard, and hang the curtain for the entrance to the courtyard. Take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and everything in it. Consecrate it along with all its furnishings, and it shall be holy. Anoint the altar of burnt offering and all its utensils. Consecrate the altar, and it shall be most holy. Anoint the basin and its stand, and consecrate them. Then bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance to the tent of meeting, and wash them with water. And you are to clothe Aaron with the holy garments, anoint him and consecrate him, so that he may serve me as priest. Bring his sons forward and clothe them with tunics. Anoint them just as you anointed their father, so that they may also serve me as priests. Their anointing will qualify them for a permanent priesthood throughout their generations." Moses did everything just as the Lord had commanded him. So the tabernacle was set up on the first day of the first month of the second year. When Moses set up the tabernacle, he laid its bases, positioned its frames, inserted its crossbars, and set up its posts. Then he spread the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering over the tent just as the Lord had commanded him. Moses took the testimony and placed it in the ark, attaching the poles to the ark, and he set the mercy seat atop the ark. Then he brought the ark into the tabernacle, put up the veil for the screen, and shielded off the ark of the testimony just as the Lord had commanded him. Moses placed the table in the tent of meeting on the north side of the tabernacle, outside the veil. He arranged the bread on it before the Lord, just as the Lord had commanded him. He also placed the lampstand in the tent of meeting, opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle, and set up the lamps before the Lord, just as the Lord had commanded him. Moses placed the gold altar in the tent of meeting in front of the veil, and he burned fragrant incense on it, just as the Lord had commanded him. Then he put up the curtain at the entrance to the tabernacle. He placed the altar of burnt offering near the entrance to the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and offered on it the burnt offering and the grain offering, just as the Lord had commanded him. He placed the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar and put water in it for washing. And from it Moses, Aaron, and his sons washed their hands and feet. They washed whenever they entered the tent of meeting or approached the altar, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. And Moses set up the courtyard around the tabernacle and the altar, and he hung the curtain for the entrance to the courtyard. So Moses finished the work. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses was unable to enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Whenever the cloud was lifted from above the tabernacle, the Israelites would set out through all the stages of their journey. If the cloud was not lifted, they would not set out until the day it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was over the tabernacle by day, and fire was in the cloud by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel through all their journeys. Doesn't seem like that would be the end of Exodus. That seems like just kind of a weird place to end. I'm going to check the... Just curious. I'm pretty sure there's more to Exodus, but not 100%. Let's see. No, maybe not. I think that is the last chapter. I kind of thought there was 40 chapters, but that seems like a weird ending. I think I don't know much about the history stuff, unfortunately. I have watched videos and heard sermons and stuff, but that stuff just doesn't stick with me. But I think the Torah or the book of Moses or the law is kind of considered one book, but I don't know how they decided, like if it was 5 books originally or if they split it up afterwards. I don't know the answer to that historically, but I do remember that it is pretty seamless. Like you read Exodus 40 and then you jump into Leviticus. It's basically picking up where it left off, and same with Deuteronomy. So it might be that just originally it was all one book, because that's kind of the case with some of the stuff. Most of them are kind of self-contained books, but I think some of them are sort of like connected. Anyway, I was trying to think of an example. I couldn't think of one. I mean, one thing that I guess what I was trying to think of is the chapters and verses were not in the original, and most people know that, but if you haven't studied the Bible or gone to church much, you might not realize that. But yeah, the original texts had no separations. In fact, many of them didn't have paragraphs or really what we would consider sentences in the same sense that we have in English, because Hebrew is different structure. And so yeah, and sometimes it's actually good to read the Bible that way. Like don't just stop at the end of a verse or chapter. Just consider it like one long reading, because sometimes, like the way we read verses in the modern times, it's like John 3:16, that's one verse out of a whole speech that, a conversation that Jesus has with Nicodemus. And if you just read one verse, you get like a partial message, but there's like surroundings and context that you gotta take into consideration. So that's one reason I enjoy reading through the whole thing, because then you get the wider context, and sometimes you'll pick up on things that you didn't really notice if you just read it verse by verse or whatever. Or especially, like, a lot of people don't even read the Bible regularly, and they just kind of rely on the Sunday church experience, or even maybe some online sermons or whatever. And that's kind of all you get, and then you just miss out on so much. Because even if your church is like expository preaching, they go through it verse by verse, it'll take a lifetime to get through the whole thing going at that slow pace. So.
Nice view.
Yeah. All right. I almost forgot I had more to read. I'm like, oh, I'm done basically, because I just finished Exodus, but got 3 chapters in New Testament. So let's keep going. Matthew chapter 17. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Suddenly Moses and Elijah appeared before them, talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While Peter was still speaking, a bright cloud enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell face down in terror. Then Jesus came over and touched them. "Get up," he said, "do not be afraid." And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, "Do not tell anyone about this vision until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The disciple asked him, "Why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" Jesus replied, Elijah does indeed come, and he will restore all things. But I tell you that Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him whatever they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man will suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that he was speaking to them about John the Baptist. When they came to the crowd, a man came up to Jesus and knelt before him. "Lord, have mercy on my son," he said. "He has seizures and is suffering terribly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. I brought him to your disciples, but they could not heal him." "O unbelieving and perverse generation," Jesus replied, "how long must I remain with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of the boy, and he was healed from that moment. Afterward, the disciples came to Jesus privately and asked, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" "Because you have so little faith," he answered. "For truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." When they gathered together in Galilee, Jesus told them, "The Son of Man is about to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and on the 3rd day he will be raised to life." And the disciples were deeply grieved. After they had arrived in Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma tax came to Peter and asked, "Does your teacher pay the 2 drachmas?" "Yes," he answered. When Peter entered the house, Jesus preempted him. "What do you think, Simon?" he asked. "From whom do the kings of the earth collect customs and taxes? From their own sons or from others?" "From others," Peter answered. "Then the sons are exempt," Jesus declared. "But so that we may not offend them, go to the sea, cast a hook, and take the first fish you catch. When you open its mouth, you will find a 4 drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours." Mark chapter 9. Then Jesus said to them, "Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the kingdom of God arrive with power." After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became radiantly white, brighter than any launderer on earth could bleach them. And Elijah and Moses appeared before them, talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. "Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." For they were all so terrified that Peter did not know what else to say. Then a cloud appeared and enveloped them, and a voice came from the cloud. "This is my beloved Son. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus admonished them not to tell anyone what they had seen until the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So they kept this matter to themselves, discussing what it meant to rise from the dead. And they asked Jesus, "Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" He replied, "Elijah does indeed come first, and he restores all things. Why then is it written that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected? But I tell you that Elijah has indeed come, and they have done to him whatever they wished, just as it is written about him." When they returned to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and scribes arguing with them. As soon as all the people saw Jesus, they were filled with awe and ran to greet him. "What are you disputing with them?" he asked. Someone in the crowd replied, "Teacher, I brought you my son, who has a spirit that makes him mute. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they were unable." "O unbelieving generation," Jesus replied, "how long must I remain with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." So they brought him, and seeing Jesus, the spirit immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long has this been with him?" "From childhood," he said. "It often throws him into the fire or into the water, trying to kill him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." "If you can?" echoed Jesus. "All things are possible to him who believes." Immediately the boy's father cried out, "I do believe. Help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that a crowd had come running, he rebuked the unclean spirit. "You deaf and mute spirit," he said, "I command you to come out and never enter him again." After shrieking and convulsing him violently, the spirit came out. The boy became like a corpse, so that many said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and helped him to his feet, and he stood up. After Jesus had gone into the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" Jesus answered, "This kind cannot come out except by prayer." Going on from there, they passed through Galilee, but Jesus did not want anyone to know, because he was teaching his disciples. He told them, "The Son of Man will be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and after 3 days he will rise." But they did not understand this statement, and they were afraid to ask him about it. Then they came to Capernaum. While Jesus was in the house, he asked them, "What were you discussing on the way?" But they were silent, for on the way they had been arguing about which of them was the greatest. Sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, "If anyone wants to be first, he must be the last of all and the servant of all." Then he had a little child stand among them. Taking the child in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes not only me, but the one who sent me." Jesus said to him, "Teacher, we saw someone else driving out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he does not accompany us." "Do not stop him," Jesus replied, "for no one who performs a miracle in my name can turn around and speak evil of me. For whoever is not against us is for us. Indeed, if anyone gives you even a cup of water because you bear the name of Christ, truly I tell you, he will never lose his reward. But if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and to be thrown into the sea. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life crippled than to have 2 hands and go into hell, into the unquenchable fire. If your foot causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life lame than to have 2 feet and be thrown into hell. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into hell, where their worm never dies and the fire is never quenched. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good, but if the salt loses its saltiness, with what will you season it? Have salt among yourselves and be at peace with one another. All right, one more partial chapter, and then we're done for the, possibly for the day, obviously for this reading, but I'm guessing this is probably the only reading I'll do because I don't have like a ton of time today to go places. I need to get some shopping done, so. You might have noticed there's a couple verse numbers missing in this Bible. Some verses are in some Bibles and not in others. It's just depending on the manuscripts and scholars that have tried to figure out, because the Bible is actually a bunch of documents put together. A lot of manuscripts have been found from various ages, and some of them have there's very few changes, but like some of them have all the verses, and then some of them are missing a couple verses or whatever. And so depending on which version of the Bible you read, it might be missing 1 or 2 verses or have an extra verse here or there. And it's not that they purposely take them out because they don't like the verses or something. It's because the majority of the manuscripts that they've found don't have those verses, and just a few of them have them. So they try to do comparisons and figure out, try to get as close to what they think are the originals and stuff. So that's why you might see missing verses in one or additional verses in another. All right, so last chapter is Luke 9. Luke 9, starting in verse 28. About 8 days after Jesus had said these things, he took with him Peter, John, and James, and went up on a mountain to pray. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became radiantly white. Suddenly 2 men, Moses and Elijah, began talking with Jesus. They appeared in glory and spoke about his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Meanwhile, Peter and his companions were overcome by sleep, but when they awoke, they saw Jesus' glory and the 2 men standing with him. As Moses and Elijah were leaving, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He did not know what he was saying. While Peter was speaking, a cloud appeared and enveloped them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. And a voice came from the cloud saying, "This is my son, whom I have chosen. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, only Jesus was present with them. The disciples kept this to themselves, and in those days they did not tell anyone what they had seen. The next day, when they came down from the mountain, Jesus was met by a large crowd. Suddenly, a man in the crowd cried out, "Teacher, I beg you to look at my son, for he is my only child. A spirit keeps seizing him, and he screams abruptly. It throws him into convulsions so that he foams at the mouth. It keeps mauling him and rarely departs from him. I begged your disciples to drive it out, but they were unable." "O unbelieving and perverse generation," Jesus replied, "how long must I remain with you and put up with you? Bring your son here." Even while the boy was approaching, the demon slammed him to the ground in a convulsion. But Jesus rebuked the unclean spirit, healed the boy, and gave him back to his father. And they were all astonished at the greatness of God. While everyone was marveling at all that Jesus was doing, he said to his disciples, Let these words sink into your ears. The Son of Man is about to be delivered into the hands of men. But they did not understand this statement. It was veiled from them so that they could not comprehend it, and they were afraid to ask him about it. Then an argument started among the disciples as to which of them would be the greatest. But Jesus, knowing the thoughts of their hearts, had a little child stand beside him, and he said to them, Whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For whoever is the least among all of you, he is the greatest. Master, said John, we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he does not accompany us. Do not stop him, Jesus replied, for whoever is not against you is for you. As the day of his ascension approached, Jesus resolutely set out for Jerusalem. He sent messengers on ahead who went into a village of the Samaritans to make arrangements for him. But the people there refused to welcome him because he was heading for Jerusalem. When the disciples James and John saw this, they asked, Lord, do you want us to call down fire from heaven to consume them? But Jesus turned and rebuked them, and he and his disciples went on to another village. As they were walking along the road, someone said to Jesus, I will follow you wherever you go. Jesus replied, Foxes have dens and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Then he said to another man, Follow me. The man replied, Lord, let me let me go and bury my father. But Jesus told him, Let the dead bury their own dead. You, however, go and proclaim the kingdom of God. Still another said, I will follow you, Lord, but first let me bid farewell to my family. Then Jesus declared, No one who puts his hand to the plow and then looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. All right, that is it for today. Ooh, it's pretty hot out here, but that wind feels pretty good. Just a slight breeze. Hopefully I got a good angle. You can see some of the wildlife, insects pollinating. Kind of wanted to get even closer to them so that maybe some of the bees and butterflies might land right in front of the camera, but it'd be hard to get the camera to stay in focus if I did that. Okay. Well, that's it. Got some of those really bright pearlescent rocks here that only reveal themselves in the sun. It's kind of like that special rocks in Lord of the Rings that only glow in moonlight. It's very similar to that. If you have them indoors, you collect one of these rocks and take it home and look at it inside, it just looks like a regular rock, and then take it outside and it's all shiny and stuff. If I put them under LED lights, I can get them to be shiny. And one of these days I'll do another microscope stream. Not very interesting for most people to watch, but I kind of like doing it sometimes. Alright, I think I'll just unceremoniously end the stream and pack up and go. I need to get on with my plans for today. So thanks for joining me. We'll see you soon. I probably will do another stream tomorrow. I like to do something on Sunday if I can. Like I would like to do more than normal on Sunday, just because it's sort of like a Sabbath in a way. Just kind of a day to relax. We'll see. I think it's going to be really hot though, so I don't know how much I'll do. But we'll probably see you tomorrow, if not tonight or something. But I'll probably be really tired and go to bed early. I don't know. We'll see. I'll catch you later though.